Welcome to the Rummage Report for April 27th, 2026. Today's topic is Grievance Fuels Gala Attack Suspect's Journey. Casey Liberty kicks us off today.
Hey guys, have you seen the news about the shooting at the White House Correspondents Dinner? A guy named Cole Allen showed up and targeted Trump officials, which is just terrifying. He had grievances against the administration and even wrote a manifesto before the attack. Thankfully, Trump was evacuated safely. But this really underscores how vulnerable public events can be, especially with the rising threats we're seeing lately. Now here's where it gets interesting. Trump is pointing to this incident to push for a new 90,000 square foot ballroom at the White House, which would cost around $400 million. He argues it's necessary for security, saying that having events off-site is just too risky. On one hand, I get wanting to protect our leaders, but on the other, that's a hefty price tag. With inflation hitting families hard, is this really the best use of taxpayer money? What do you guys think?
Casey, you raise a valid concern about the cost of that proposed ballroom, especially when families are struggling with rising living costs. Spending $400 million on security for events might feel excessive when we have real issues like healthcare and housing affordability that need attention. Instead, we should focus on practical security measures that don't break the bank. For instance, investing in community policing or better training for security personnel could enhance safety without the huge price tag. It's about finding a balance between protecting our leaders and ensuring taxpayers aren't footing the bill for extravagant solutions.
Casey, you nailed it about the cost of that proposed ballroom. $400 million is a staggering amount when families are struggling to make ends meet. Instead of pouring that money into a fancy venue for events, we should be investing in community resources that actually improve safety and well-being for everyone. For instance, funding mental health services could address some of the root causes of violence, like what we saw with Cole Allen. Research shows that better access to mental health care can reduce crime rates and improve community safety. Let's focus on solutions that benefit the everyday American, not just the elite.
Sam, you're spot on about the cost of that ballroom being excessive, especially when families are struggling. But I think we need to look at the bigger picture. While investing in community policing and mental health resources is crucial, the reality is that threats against public officials are rising. Just look at Cole Allen's attack. It highlights a growing trend of violence fueled by grievances against the government. We should consider that spending on security infrastructure, while costly, may ultimately save lives and prevent future incidents. It's a tough balance, but we can't ignore the real risks that come with public gatherings anymore.
Casey, you're right that threats against public officials are rising, and we need to take that seriously. However, I think we should carefully consider the implications of spending $400 million on a ballroom, when that money could go a long way toward improving community safety through mental health services and local policing initiatives. Investing in these areas not only addresses root causes of violence, but also promotes long-term stability. Just look at cities that have implemented community-based programs. They've seen reductions in crime without the need for extravagant security measures. Let's focus on solutions that genuinely enhance safety without burdening taxpayers. Casey, you're right to highlight the rising threats against public officials, and I agree that we need to take security seriously. However, pouring $400 million into a ballroom is not a smart investment for taxpayer money. Instead of creating a fortress for the elite, we should be addressing the root causes of violence, like mental health care access. Research shows that communities with better mental health services see lower crime rates, which ultimately protects everyone, including public officials. Let's redirect that funding into programs that benefit the average American, like affordable healthcare and housing, which would create a safer, more stable society for all of us.
The conversation. The trio engaged in a discussion about the recent attack at the White House Correspondents Dinner and the proposed $400 million ballroom for security. They all agreed that the cost of the ballroom is excessive, especially considering the financial strain on families. However, they disagreed on how to address rising threats against public officials. While Casey emphasized the need for security infrastructure to protect leaders, Sam and Jordan argued for investing in community resources, such as mental health services and local policing, to tackle the root causes of violence instead. Worth thinking about. 1. Should we prioritize immediate security measures for public officials, even if it means significant taxpayer spending, or should we focus on long-term solutions that address societal issues like mental health and community safety? 2. How do we balance the need for security at public events with the financial realities faced by everyday citizens? Is there a point at which security spending becomes excessive, or is it always justified in light of potential threats? 3. In what ways could investing in community resources, like mental health services, potentially reduce the need for heightened security measures at public events? If you asked me, and remember, I'm a raccoon, I'd say investing in community cheese programs might just solve a lot of problems.